All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ministry Revealed. It is Canada Day up here in Canada, of course, July 1st, 2018, and we are counting down the days. I know I am. I know it's going to be, we're going to be sleeping, and then we're going to wake up to life being different. But, guys, I wanted to say, obviously, from the start of this, it's not part 3, and maybe from the title as well, it's not part 3. I have part 3 of that series slated to launch tomorrow, but I may push it to Tuesday, just to give you guys in between, because I really wanted to get this video out. A lot of subscribers, you guys will send me information, you'll send me comments or emails about things that you find within the Gospels. And like I said, we know there's a lot of differences, and you guys are starting to see this now for yourselves when you know that, who the books are speaking to, right? Luke to the bride. Let's hear. When you know that Luke is speaking to the bride, Mark is speaking to the church or the lost tribes, right? If you know that Matthew is speaking to Judah. Once you understand these things in an overall sense, right? Of course you find things that are relating to all teachings that the pastors have been doing for, decades and decades now on the Gospels. Yes, they are things, of course, that apply to everyday life. But this channel is the revelation of the understanding in the end times and how these things are going to apply. And we're going to touch on some of that today from things that subscribers have sent that give another confirmation, if you will, just like the robe colors in the video we did, the previous video that we did, right? The robes explain who these different groups are from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and who the books are speaking to in relation to end times. So we're going to cover that. I wanted to give everybody a big shout out. Thank you as well. Thank you for supporting the mission here at Ministry Revealed. Right, we have our mission called Operation 14 Years, and we are burning USBs, or guys might call them jump drives, and we're copying that video series with the 14-year. Oh, there it is. With the 14-year timeline, with a letter to the pastors, and the first batch went out, guys. So I wanted to say a big thank you very much. Oh, a little bit of a freeze here for a second. I wanted to say thank you very much. The first batch of 30 of them went out. So here's a whole bunch of them. We sent to Perry Stone and Paul Begley and, oh my goodness, to Australia, to Steve Cicciolanti, Jack Hibbs out in California, a number of them. So 30 of them that went out. And, of course, the waiting at the post office wasn't the best, but the lady was so helpful to help me speed things up because they're not just letters, right? We've got USBs wrapped up in there as well. So they had to go a small packet. So, of course, shipping is 3.5 times more than I thought it might be. But it's okay. You guys have been great. I pray and ask if you guys have the ability. Always be praying for the ministry as well, if you can. And if you have the ability to donate, you can just go to PayPal. You can see it right here, paypal.me/the ministry revealed. And, whatever you can do, it's awesome. What we're doing with the ministry, for those who are new, is our Operation 14 Years is to bring the understanding of the 14-year timeline, the true tribulation timeline, to the world as best we can. All right? From our humble little garage here up in Canada. All right, from where I do these videos for you. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a big shout, say thank you very much. What we've done is these USB sticks here that you see in this picture. For those who are new, what we do is we just keep buying a bunch of these USB sticks, and we burn them with the teachings. And we send them to pastors and to anybody listening who would want one. If you don't have the ability to copy the videos for yourselves, let us know and we'll ship them out to you as well. So I've put in another batch. This is a third batch going in now that we're waiting on. Another batch just came in, so those are getting burned here starting tomorrow, because tomorrow's a holiday here for us. and then they're going to be shipped out on Tuesday. So the next batch is going out to many more, like Dr. Kim that you guys see online. Who else? Shoot, there's a number of others. We've got the list that we continue to build, and when you guys send us pastors that you'd like us to send them to, we send them out. So you can either mail something to us, and you can send it to my name, because I don't have Ministry Revealed registered or anything like that. It's not a ministry company or anything. Or you can just go to PayPal. All right, so I wanted to give you guys I want to say thank you. All right, thank you very much, and we are reaching people. They have gone out, guys. All right, so thank you very much. Now, this is what we want to get into. This is going to cover a few pieces here today. One that's kind of it's a bit of a shaking, if you will. It ties in, of course, with what we've been saying. It reveals more truth and understanding as to the bride, who the bride is, and the fact that there can be believers who are left. It's going to tie into the flesh and the difference between the flesh and the spirit. We're going to go in and see some timing in when Jesus said, my God, why have you forsaken me? We're going to touch into another piece, which is, I was leaving today and I pulled off to the side of the road because it jumped into my mind about when Jesus said, you know, I've had it come up and then I forget about it. When Jesus said, these things that I've done will you do, and even greater. And I was talking to my wife, I'm like, do you see that anywhere in this world? Do you see people being raised from the dead here, there, and, you know, regularly? I've heard of it in different parts of the world, maybe once in a while. You know, when people say they've healed people and they've got up out of chairs, that they were in wheelchairs for years and then they still walk with limps and or you know, with canes or whatever the case is. I have never seen the way Jesus said, you will do what I do and more. I mean, we got to admit, we really haven't seen that as far as in my lifetime that I know of, and I'm sure many of you, if not most of you. Little miracles in here, or even some big miracles, don't get me wrong. But the stuff that Jesus was talking about when he said, these and more will you do. What's interesting about that is the reason I was really interested and pulled off to the side of the road, well, first of all, I would have been on my phone, was I wanted to see where, I wanted to see which book and which chapter that was written in, because I didn't know offhand. So I went and looked it up, and you betcha it was right where we would think it would be. So we're going to touch on that today too. But we're going to start here. So we're going to be in Matthew 26, 27. We're going to be in Mark 15, 16, I think it is, or 14, 15. We're going to touch in Luke. We're going to go into Psalms. I'll try to stay within my time frame here, or less. And just bring more revelation to the understanding of the Gospels. All right? So let's get at this here. Let's go into Matthew 26. So here we are in Matthew 26. This right here, right off the bat, and Jesus said unto Peter, so we're in 26 verse 40. Why could you not watch with me 1 hour? I'm still working on this 1 hour to understand this timing. It may be, I'm not going to put that out yet. I'm still trying to figure out this 1 hour, because what you see here in Matthew, it says, could you not watch with me 1 hour? You see that? Remember, we're in Matthew, so speaking to Judah. With me. In Mark, it doesn't say with me. It just says, could you not watch 1 hour? Because what happened? They fell asleep. These guys just continuously fall back asleep. Same with Mark. But guess what? All of this that's spoken of here is not found in the book of Luke. Right? It's not in Luke's gospel, because it's not applying to the bride who is awake and who is watching. Remember, watch and pray always. We get that in Luke 21, 35, 34, right? Or 36. Watch and pray always that you may be accounted worthy. These guys, they're getting in trouble in Matthew and in Mark because they couldn't stay awake. All right? but it's not there. Now watch this. This is really where I wanted to start in Matthew. Jesus says, watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. This is kind of a painful one, guys, when you see where this, when you come to understand where this is going. It can be painful. Doesn't have to be painful, but it can be. It proves yet again that the bride isn't all the church, like the churches teach. They always teach, for the vast majority, that the whole church is the bride and everybody's going pre-tribulation. Right? We know here on this channel that that's not true. Pre-tribulation is the bride. Mid-tribulation, after 7 years, not 3.5 for those new to the channel, it's the rapture of the church, the rest of them, with exception of the corners, right, the harvest, all right? The harvest understanding. And then it goes to the time for Judah. So look at what it says here. The spirit indeed is willing. So it's willing, but it's not. It's willing, but it doesn't have it, right? The spirit is willing, but the flesh is, see, it's italicized. I changed the color, but it's italicized, is weak. Now, many people would like to have discussions, or let's call it debates. I don't want to say arguments. It's never arguments, I should say, but debates as to whether, when the 144,000, when people say, oh, they're not speaking about physical virgins. I had a lady, I believe it was a lady, a subscriber, or somebody who was watching on the channel, who said, oh, come on, it's not going to be between, quote unquote, penises and vaginas. And I disagree. It does have to do with that, but not only that. It never only has to do with the flesh. It has to do with the spirit and the flesh. And if we can't control the flesh, guess what? The bride doesn't, according to what I'm going to show you, it doesn't count for part of the bride if we can't control our flesh. But let's not forget, we have, let me go to it. See, we have our advocate, Jesus Christ, for when we do slip into sin, right? My little children. Which one? Not the immature Christians. See, when you see children or little children and stuff in scriptures, it's in the New Testament, there's 3 of them generally spoken about, or maybe even just the 3. You have 50-40, 50-43, 50, and one of the other ones. Oh, down here. Right here. Is it this one? Yeah, this one. See, you have immature Christians. These are the guys that are staying during the tribulation of seals. All right? You have these Christians, which are the Christian converts. These are his darlings, right? This is the bride here. And then you have another one when it says children, and I believe it's 50-40 is the Greek word, and it just means sons and daughters. All right? So it's as a general expression to them, right? But this is speaking to those that are his, for his bride. And look at who we have, right? My little children, these things write I unto you, that you sin not. And if any man does sin, so if any of you does sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous. He is our propitiation. How do you say that? I always say this one. Expediator. Maybe I won't even say that one, right? He's our atonement, right? For our sins. But not only for ours, but for the whole world. If the world would just come to understand, Jesus already paid for it. It's done. For all of the sins that haven't even been committed yet, and for everything that's already been committed, the price is already paid. People just need to know that we have somebody to go to say, please forgive me. I repent from my sins. Right? So when we do slip in this flesh, we have Jesus Christ to return to. Right? To turn to and to ask for forgiveness from our sins. All right? Let me get back. All right. So when we see, listen to the wording here that we were talking about, right? So back here in Matthew 26, the Spirit indeed is willing. See, the Spirit indeed is willing. Hasn't, but is willing. Speaking of Judah, right? They're willing, but they haven't taken the jump to Christ yet. And their flesh is weak. Now let's go have a look at what Mark says. I think it's in 14, or is it 15? No, it's 14. Let's go to Mark 14:38. Watch and pray lest you enter into temptation. The Spirit truly is ready. What? But the flesh is weak. So in Matthew, it said the Spirit is willing. In Mark, it said it's ready. Do you understand what's being said here? You don't find these in Luke's gospel. So why is it saying it here in Mark that their spirit is ready? It goes back to this debate whether it really meant virgins when it said virgins in regarding the 144,000, which we'll go into. Because it does. There's this argument all the time. Oh, it has nothing to do with them being virgins and not having been with women. Well, first of all, it reiterates it. So just in case we didn't understand, it tells us in two different ways in the same verse that they were virgins. Now, for those like Robert Breaker and others, oh, that's who else, these couple of USBs are going out to Robert Breaker as well on Tuesday. Just want to say that because that was a request as well. So with Robert Breaker, he teaches that they were the babies killed that were under 2 when Jesus was a baby. Since when has a 2-year-old baby ever been referred to as a virgin and never having been with a woman? That's absurd. It's ludicrous, right? And I'm not against Robert. He does great teachings. He's got a huge ministry. But it's an understanding that's missing, right? And here we have in Mark where it says that the Spirit truly is ready. So if the Spirit is ready, what? That means, okay, they believe in Jesus Christ. They've accepted Him. They have Him in their hearts, right? Their spirit, the spirit that is their human rational, the soul, is ready. Which means you would think that they get to go to heaven. According to the church, this group would get to go to heaven because they're ready in their spirit. However, it's not what it says. The flesh is weak. It's what we've been talking about many times here on this channel. I don't show my face and everything, but, I'm pinching myself, grabbing my skin. It's this garbage suit that we're in that is weak. It's this garbage suit that we need to get control of, to stay away from sin, right? The flesh. See, look, the body, it even clearly lets us know, as opposed to the soul or the spirit. Because, see, the spirit, in these guys' case, they have it. But they can't control their flesh. These are believers that are left, that are going to go through the tribulation of seals. That's what it's saying. And I just thought that was so important to get across because I had never noticed it before. You guys had sent it to me. And I started looking into it and I was like, oh, that hurts in a way, right? But it doesn't hurt if we remember we have Jesus Christ to turn to in repentance, in true repentance. We don't only have Him ready in our hearts, but we have Him for when we're weak in our flesh and we turn to Him and we get stronger by keeping away from those fleshly weaknesses. which ties in exactly to the understanding here in Revelation 14, right? When we have the 144,000 being spoken about, let me go down to it. These are they which were not defiled, soiled, okay? They were not soiled, they were not tarnished with women, for they are virgins. So they were not defiled with women, so they didn't have sex, for they were virgins. So see, it's like giving you a double, it's telling you twice, it's repeating itself in a sense. It literally means in the physical, they were virgins, and in the spiritual, meaning they didn't defile themselves with other gods and pagan things or whatever you want to say, right? They didn't defile themselves with other gods, and they were virgins. It's both. And so that argument is whether, is it penis and vagina? Oh, because of that, that's what's going to define them? Yeah, that's part of it. You can tell me till you're blue in the face you don't believe it anymore, or you don't believe it, but I'm not the one telling you. I'm just the one showing you what it says. The Spirit truly is ready. Like, this is huge, guys. For all of our Christian brothers and sisters out there who believe and who are going to church and who are trying to prepare because the end is about to begin. The end days, the last 14 years are about to start. When the tribulation, when the bad is about to begin. I believe we're a 3 weeks away from it all beginning. The real Pentecost. And this is the stuff that we're trying to get across to them. They think they're good because they go to church on Sunday once a week and they don't spend any time with the Lord during the week. They don't pray for forgiveness, right? They're not repentant. They don't spend time with Him, so they have no idea who Jesus is. Their spirit is ready, but their flesh is weak. This is the difference. All right? I wanted to share that one with you guys. And let me see, there was, sorry, so many windows opened. It freezes easily. Oh, we spoke about this in a previous video quite a while ago. Jimmy brought this to my attention again, and I thought I would share it here because it's fitting, right? Because what do we have here? The bride, Luke, it doesn't talk about this. She's gone. The spirit was ready and the flesh. All right? Mark's group is second, and then you have Matthew's group the third. When we go and we look at Luke 14, it's so clear to me. We spoke about this a few months ago. Oh, was it 14? Oh, give me a second. 12. So Luke 12, it's so clearly stated here in Luke. So clearly stated that I often wonder how people don't now understand. And I mean, I do understand because I didn't get it until these past few months as the Spirit's been revealing more and more and more. But this was one of the early ones that I got, right? About being ready and girding your loins. And it starts off with what? And Jesus says, "And you yourselves like unto men that wait for the Lord, when He will return from the wedding." That's how He starts it off. When He returns from the wedding. And what book are we in? We're in Luke. And nothing is spoken of before that because Luke's group is the one that's at the wedding. They're the ones getting married. And then He says, "Blessed are those servants whom the Lord, when He cometh, shall find" what? Watching. Why weren't they part of the wedding? They weren't watching. As part of it, as the overall understanding, right? Watching. Well, what did we just look at in Matthew and Mark's group? That first portion, right? When it said that they fell asleep. Here, let's, because I wanted to show in Mark even a little bit further down, right? So truly the spirit is ready, but the flesh is weak. And then look, and again he went away and prayed and spake the same words. And when he returned, he found them asleep again. And he cometh the third time. Second time, boom, third time. Excuse me, same thing applies in Matthew. They were asleep. That's why they weren't part of the bride. They weren't paying attention. It's like people now, when you guys, I know you're talking about with your family and friends, and many people say, there's too many things that still have to happen. We're still so far away. You guys, you're so silly talking about this all the time. Okay, guys, this is what I want you to tell your family and friends when they say, oh, you're just so silly. Or, zip it, I don't want to hear you anymore, depending on what kind of family member you have, right? Or friend. Let's say they don't understand, well, we know most of them don't understand the 14 years. Let's just say it's 7 years, all right? We know it's not. But let's go to the 7-year understanding and go to a calendar. If Jesus died in 31 AD, which has been proven enough, you can go to all these different Bible study programs from Bible Gateway and Bible Hub and do a study on it and go into history. Jesus was born in 2 BC and was crucified, died in 31 AD. If Jesus died in 31 AD, minus 7 years from 31 AD. Just tell that to your family and friends. You keep saying, oh, you don't think it, there's too many things that still need to happen. It can't be yet. It can't be yet. Tell them to minus 7 years from 31 AD. How many years do they think they have left? 6.5, 7 years, give or take? You get it? Worst case scenario, they think all these things still need to be put together because they don't see what's going on behind the scenes. But this could still wake them up if they don't want to believe or understand the 14 years. They've only got like 6.5 years left. If they only believe the 7 years. However, we know that what we're trying to do is wake them up to the truth that it's about to begin this year. It will be 2018, and I believe it will be July that it's going to start. Mid-July, right? July 17th, I think. If I have the proper understanding of Leviticus and the breakdown, in the number count, I believe it's July 17th. So, now, when we see here, return from the wedding, he tells them, you better be watching, right? And verily I say unto you, he who does, I will make to sit down and meat, and I will serve him. And if I shall come in the second watch, or in the third watch, and find them so doing, blessed are they. It ties in with exactly what we've been just talking about. First time, he took that group to go get married. These are the next two. Mark's group and Matthew's group, the two that we were just talking about that were both sleeping. But the beautiful bride, clothed in glorious raiment, was not sleeping. All right? Now, let's go to the next thing. Watch this. This is about a timing thing. Again, I've shown you guys for those who have been following for a while, you understand the 14 years. And what this is going to do is show yet again the timing of the 14 years revealed from our understanding in Matthew, in Mark, in Psalms, in Hosea. I'm going to show you that it is in this, what we're going to talk about is in the year 2022. And it's really incredible when we get to Psalms and you see it. So watch this. In Mark, right, when Jesus is being crucified, this is the purple and the scarlet. Remember we did that teaching about the robe. Now watch this one. We're not going to go into the vinegar today. But Jesus says, not in Luke. You don't find this in Luke's gospel, all right? But you find it in Mark and you find it in Matthew. And thank you. This one's from Tabitha as well, all right? My God, why hast thou forsaken me? And then we find it in Matthew 27. We find it again. And like I said, you don't find it. Matthew 27:46. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? So I went and did what I often do is I'll just come up here and I'll type in the word Bible, and then I'll type in a phrase that I'm looking for, or a word or two that I'm looking for, and to see where it shows up and where it pops up. Other times I'll go to this one here, which is a Blue Letter Bible, if I know specifically, a single word, or if I'm looking for a phrase that I want to type in that is specific, right? So I'm doing one right now. I'm also looking into the whole 1 hour, like I told you guys earlier. And I'll do a search that way. Well, when I went and did this search to see where, my God, why hast thou forsaken me, where it was in Matthew, because I found where it was in Mark pretty quick, but I didn't know exactly where it was in Matthew. So I did that search. And when I did that search, guess what showed up? Remember, Psalms 18 is to 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. 24 I showed is where the rapture is. And that how Psalms 118, 119, they're a different way of looking at the exact same time frame. That is what's happening here. So now, what do we know that's happening with about 2 to 3 years, right? If you were to say from the beginning of 22 to the end of 24, right, you'd have all of 22, all of 23, all of 24. That would make a full 3 years. But you're in that time frame, say about 2.5 years or so. What do we know should be happening in the year 22? You guys know this one. We know that with that time left, it should be the killing of Christians. Martyrs under the altar, right? The first beast is going to get his power to continue 42 months. And I've said, I don't think he's going to immediately start going after the Christians. It's going to probably be within a few months or so later. And so in and around, somewhere around inside of the year 2022, if 2018 is that year, it's 2022, somewhere in and around 2022, maybe even late 2021, there's going to be the beheadings of Christians. All right? They're going to be going after Christians purposely. Now let's look. Because remember, prior to the Antichrist getting his power to continue 42 months, right? He's not going to be going out and killing. There's going to be war and famine and devastation and setting up a whole bunch of things. But when he gets his power to continue at about the time of the pale horse, right? Which is the time of Christians killing and major killing around the world happens. This is the time of the purposeful killing of Christians, I call it. Right? At that time, it's the year 2022. So let's have a look and see if we can find that here. And you're going to remember when I show you this, what we spoke about in previous videos a while ago. If you go and read for yourselves Psalms 22, you're going to find Psalms 22 is all about the death and crucifixion of Jesus. That's what it's all about. This is probably something the Essenes, remember the Essenes, there's the book of the Essenes. The Essenes knew from scriptures the time frame when Jesus was coming. So much so that they went and moved into the wilderness because they thought when he was coming, it was when he was coming as a lion and glorious and he was going to destroy them. So they moved into the wilderness waiting for him. And it wasn't until a little bit later when they realized, oh, this is him. I think it was towards the tail end of Jesus' ministry that they realized it, and Jesus never said a single bad thing about the Essenes. All right? Anywhere. So they probably knew something like, they probably knew Psalms 22. And here's what shows up. Psalms 22, like I said, is all about Jesus essentially going to get crucified. My wife hated, I said, oh, you should read it. You'll understand right away. Right? They had taken his robe and a lot of bad things, and we're going to touch on it here that nobody wants to be a part of, which is why you want to be a part of the bride. But this is what started it off. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? All the way back in Psalms 22. Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? Why? Because what they're going through. Oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but you don't hear me. And in the night season, and I am not am not silent. But thou art holy, your habitation, praises of Israel. Our fathers trusted in you. They trusted, and you delivered them. You took them out. You escaped them out of here. You carried them away to safety. Right? The escape of the bride. They cried unto you and were delivered. Another way of the same word, but it's very far away. 6403, 4422. Again, escape, rescue, bring forth. All right? Same thing. But now listen to this. They trusted in you and were not confounded. Guys, I haven't said it for a while, but remember this program? eSword, this program that you see that I'm using here, where we can go through the scriptures quickly. We can find out word definitions and find out the root words and where they come from, what they mean. It is so important. A program like this is the multiplication, a tenfold multiplication in your scripture understanding. All right? So we have a group here that say the same thing as Jesus. And that's why I'm saying if you read through this carefully, you're going to see that Psalms 22 is all about Jesus being sacrificed. Which also makes sense because what? In the year 2022, is the time of the killing of Christians. Watch the connection. So here they are, they're crying out, Lord, why aren't you listening? Why aren't you hearing us? You know, our fathers trusted in you, the bride. Those that went before us, they trusted in you, and you escaped them out of here. Right? They were escaped. You took them out. They trusted in you and were not confounded. So that group that you delivered out, they were not confounded, but here we're here, and we're confounded. Ready? Watch this. Do I need to say anything? Or do you see it right away? Pale. Pale. In Psalms 22, the word for confounded is the word pale. Pale horse rider. Remember? Pale horse rider. When the beheadings will be taking place at the pale horse rider, when the Antichrist is given power to continue. Why doesn't it say he had power? He was 42 months prior to. There's no time given to him because he doesn't come on the scene right away. There's a mystery amount of time from when the tribulation begins to when he shows up, which is the red horse rider. And then from here to here, whatever that time is. Remember Revelation 13? He's given his power and his seat and authority. And then later it says, and he's given power to continue 42 months. So he had time before with power and authority. And then he's got some sort of election, something, somehow, someone, it says the dragon, gave him his authority and power to continue 42 months. That's the time I've been teaching you since the beginning of the pale horse rider. It's the same thing as I've taught with 1 Corinthians 1:11. The word Chloe. When Paul is saying, oh, you guys have all these contentions amongst yourselves. You know, who should we believe in? Do we believe in Paul or Apollos or Cephas or Christ? Right? And Paul says what? Was Jesus divided? Thank goodness Paul says, I wasn't the one baptizing everybody. I baptized a few of you guys here, but that's it. Because the confusion within the church of who they're supposed to believe in during this time of seals. And Chloe means green, but Chloe also, if you do a search on the name Chloe and what the name Chloe means, it means a young green branch, light green, pale green. That is what's being spoken about here. Psalms 22, beheading time. During what time? The pale horse rider. This is why I love this eSword program. Guys, you know, to get these understandings, imagine what they had to do back in the day when they didn't have the internet and these programs like this eSword. Having to have those big old books, I think the Septuagint, and flipping through those things if you can get them and find your relations that way. Oh, man, that's only if you had it. We have a tool like this now. We should be using it like crazy. Psalms 22. Remember Psalms 18? The escape of the bride, right here. After we experience the beginning of the tribulation, we're going to see it. These earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, the Lord coming, and for those that have cleansed their hands, that were already nice, clean hands, they get what? Delivered into a large place. Right? Already delivered. And then here we are in 22, which I've been teaching in the year 2022 is going to be a time of beheading of Christians. And it's talking about being delivered. Who was delivered? The first group was already gone. You know, they trusted you. Then now they didn't have to go through what? Through this that we're now having to go through. It's the exact same thing. The time of the pale horse rider, late 2021 into 2022, found exactly where it should be found. And to save some time, you guys can go in and read Psalms 22 yourself. And you could see the whole story. And it's perfectly fitting because Jesus said what? The Holy Spirit is working for the bride. The Holy Spirit takes the bride out. Jesus is coming for who? His lost sheep. So wouldn't it make sense that here it is speaking about Jesus' crucifixion and his sacrifice here in the Old Testament, right exactly in perfect timing, in perfect alignment, where his lost sheep are going to be going through the same thing as him. Doesn't that make sense? He went through it, his will go through it. The bride comes out before it even begins, before all of it really, really starts. All right? Yes, like I said, I believe we'll see it, we'll experience something, or we might just go. But I believe when you read 18, we'll see the beginnings before we're taken out. But right here, Psalms 22 is about the sacrifice and crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and it is about the sacrifice and beheadings of Christians during the time of the pale horse rider in the year 22, because Jesus is coming for his lost sheep. It's the exact same thing in perfect alignment. Truly, go read it for yourself. See, Deliver my soul from the sword. All right? Cutting instrument, right? It's all here. You want, here, watch this. Here's further proof. Psalms 22 isn't speaking to the time when the bride will be here. Remember this congregation we've spoken about in the past? Right? The congregation. There's more than one understanding of congregation. We have this one, which is just like the general assembly. All right? Assembly, company, congregation, multitude. I did a teaching on this one. So see, all of these teachings throughout the months, they start tying and weaving in together, all in the perfect alignment with the other teachings that were given. Watch this. Remember this one with the 2 trumpets? These aren't the trumpets like the tribulation trumpets. These are the trumpets for assemblies. And this first one, this first assembly of this congregation, this is the bride here. We're in Numbers 10 verse 3. And they shall blow with them. See, there were 2 trumpets made out of pure silver that God asked Moses to make. And when they blow with them, both of them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to thee at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Which one? The appointed time assembly. At the specific appointment for the bride. Then it goes into the 144,000, then coming from the east and from the south, and then we have the rapture. The rapture comes after what? After the 144,000, the second group. And look at this congregation. But when the congregation, so this one is gathered together, you shall blow, but you shall not sound an alarm, because these 2 up here were alarm sounds. So you have this one up here, the first one, you're going to blow with both of them. And this assembly is going to come to the door of the tabernacle. Of which congregation? The appointed time one, which is why I'm saying Pentecost, I believe, is July 17th, because this year was a second Adar year, even though nobody seems to realize it. It's true. I show it in the 3 moon one. Right? You guys know that. It's got the white, blue, and red moon thumbnail on it. You guys can go watch that one. But now look at this congregation after the 144 have been sealed, right? There's different armies and stuff that go out, but then watch. Look at this congregation. Same one. This is the rapture congregation that is gathered together at the rapture, all right, in the year 2024. And here we are in Psalms for the year 2022, and the congregation here that's being spoken of is the same one, 6951. It's not the first one, because they're gone. All right? I will declare thy name unto my brethren in the midst of the congregation. Will I praise thee? Will I? Right? They're not praising yet because they're not there yet. Why? Because it's only the year 2022. The rapture is until the year 2024. All right? For he hath not despised nor adored the affliction of the afflicted. Always going back to that, I don't want to bring up that because I don't want to show you guys certain things, but on my email, my personal private email. But there's, I showed you guys before with a harvest, right? If this rectangle here is a harvest field, the first fruits is 10% right here. Then the main harvest is all of this, and then you have corners that you're not allowed to take when you're harvesting the field. The corners have to be left, and whatever little things you drop on the floor, maybe this dot, another period here, those little pieces that you drop on the ground, you're to leave it for the corners and gleaning till later. The bride is that first congregation that goes. This main harvest congregation is this one right here. And that group for the main harvest is this one that has gone through the affliction. They have gone through the tribulation. All right? Why? Oh, again, we can keep going through this. Every one of these, as we go in from 18, 19, 20, you could see all of the correlations all along the way. Even right to the time of the rapture, right? We've covered this before. The fullness of the Gentiles, right? Those that had to clean their hands, that they hadn't cleaned them yet, so they couldn't go in the escape. But now they've cleaned their hands. That one's in part 3 of this series. It's going to cover this more. All right, but for 22, all of these little pieces within 22 tell us exactly who it's speaking to. Great congregation. Who's the great congregation? You guys know this one. Therefore, Luke 10, verse 2, therefore said he unto them, the harvest truly is great. It's going to be a great harvest. They're going to need many laborers to collect the harvest of it. And that's why the congregation is great. It's all throughout here. All right. I don't want to spend more time. It's getting late on this one. So now what else did I want to go into here and finish up? John 14. I think you can even go into Hosea 5. Remember, because what we're saying is how these books and how these chapters relate to the years. 2018 to 2031 when Christ's feet down. Rapture of the church, escape of the bride. You can see the beheadings here. I've explained the same with Hosea. So those who are new, part 3 of the Operation 14 Years series that's going to come out after this one. You're going to see also talk about Hosea and Zechariah. This is a chapter per year. Same with Zechariah. So if it's a chapter per year, and this is 18, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, you should find something in 2022 as well, in Hosea. For the judgment is toward you, because you have been a snare, metal sheet pounded thin. You get it? Guillotines, beheadings, metal sheet pounded thin. Same thing we get if we went back into Psalms and we go to Psalms 124 for the year 2024. You're going to find the same snare in Psalms 124, praising the Lord for having saved them and escaped them and gotten them out from the snare of the enemy that was round about them and that was killing them. It's the rapture. And look at this. And the revolters, right at the perfect time. And the revolters are profound to make slaughter. This ties in exactly to the purpose of this. This ministry, this Operation 14 Years that we're doing, ties in. Oh, maybe you cut out there for a second. This Operation 14 Years that we're doing and sending out USBs to every church that we can based on how much we're able to get in donations, and we keep pumping these things out, is for this right here. What's going to happen when the escape happens here? People are going to think, Christians are going to think two things. I missed the rapture, or they're going to believe the Pope and whoever else says that it wasn't the rapture. And the Pope might say it was God taking, like he said at Easter this year, right? God is going to take out a group. There's not a hell. He's going to take out a group because they were the ones causing the trouble. That's what he said. And he's going to make them vanish. Literally what the Pope said. I've spoken about it before, and I showed the article about it. They're going to believe that, or they're going to believe that it wasn't the rapture because why are they still there? And then what's going to happen? For those that do believe the rapture is still coming, and whatever that was, they don't know, what's coming? They're expecting a mid-tribulation rapture. Right? So if the tribulation had then started, they're going to be expecting about 3.5 years later a rapture, because that's what the churches have all taught. It's either pre-tribulation or mid-trib based on 7 years. And what's going to happen at about the midpoint? Beheadings are going to take place. It's going to start before here. This is during it. So what are they going to do? Many people are going to fall away from the faith. They're going to say, you guys all taught us, for those pastors that are left. If that wasn't the rapture, then all of this tribulation, this is a global thing. We better be able to escape. We should be able to rapture in 3.5 years. 3.5 years comes, no rapture. The Antichrist comes to full power again, given his complete power and authority now for 42 months. And then shortly thereafter, beheadings begin. What do you think that's going to do to all these believers that were maybe weaker in their belief, that were waiting and thinking there was a rapture coming in 3.5 years? They're going to become these guys. A departure from right. A departure from to sin. Right? That turn aside. To turn aside or to depart must mean that you once weren't departed. You were there. You were part of them. But not anymore. There'll be so many people that will have had enough. And they're going to say no. We read that in Timothy, 1st or 2nd Timothy. You have the same type of thing, right? People are just going to, if I don't find it right away, I'm not going to stay, don't worry. They're just going to depart. Oh, that's a different part. Oh, here it is. See, now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith. And people say, once saved, always saved. Really? I think we've covered enough of that today to show that that's not true. I mean, have they not read Timothy? People will have the choice to depart from their faith. Obviously. And I just showed you where. In the year 2022, we could see scripture that shows us where. There's a group that has left the faith and are now looking to kill with the rest of them. Because they're so disheartened, because nothing happened by the midpoint. All of those believers are still there. And now a whole bunch of them are being killed and executed and beheaded and all those things. This purpose is this. This is why. Wake people up so that they don't have to be a part of this. And for those that will be left, when this type of program has been taken off the internet, when the YouTube videos are taken down, when every website relating to faith is taken down, my prayer is that these are going to be sitting in people's offices. They'll be lying around in different places. We've got stickers on them too. That says about Tribulation, 14-year revelation, I think it says. Good stickers on both sides of them. Clearly everything in the videos, well, maybe not all of you find it very clear. I really tried my best. I'm not the best at this, obviously. But that's the purpose, guys. So that's where your donations are helping. Guess what? We all get to take part in the rewards in heaven. The rewards of this ministry. We all get to take part of them. Not just me. Like I always like to say, I'm just the mouthpiece. I just did. I saw and I said, wow, and I thought, I need to tell people. Right? We want to save people, as many as we can. Now, we know we're not going to save them all because they're all over the Bible. But if we can save some, if we can help strengthen some, just like the word says, right? For we told you before it happens, so that when it happens, you might believe. Right? That's the purpose. Now let me finish off here with John. It ties into what we're talking about. Timing. I pull over to the side of the road to do a search to say, okay, where is this phrase? Where does Jesus say in the Bible, in the New Testament, where does he say, greater things, these things that I have done and greater will you do? Greater? Greater? I mean, come on, Jesus rose people, people rose from the grave, right? At the end of John, he tells us what? Many, many other things. Like, it's thousands of things. If Jesus did, there's not enough books written to conceal them all. Why? Because he did so many other miracles and so many great things that aren't in the books. And Jesus said, these things and more shall you do. I don't know about you, but I haven't seen that in my lifetime. Yes, we've seen miracles. Yes, we've seen different things. All right? I'm a miracle. You're a miracle. But the stuff that he did that he's talking about, I can't say that I've seen it in that sense. Well, how fitting is where we find it? I did a word search on it, and of course, it's what? In John 14. Remember, John, I've been telling you, every chapter of John relates to the final 21 years on earth as we know it before the millennium starts. We're in John 8. It's the same count as Psalms, how the books of Psalms, they relate to a year from the 1900s, right? And it carries forward, just like we've done with 118 and 119 and 124 and so forth, as well as going back, evenly spaced back 100 years. It ties in as well. John comes to the exact same thing, and it starts in 2011, and it ends in 2031. Remember, spring to spring. All right, a year starts in spring and ends in spring. Here's the escape year. We've covered this before. Here's the escape year. It starts off the same way Luke's discourse ends. Coming early in the morning to the temple. 2024, which is John 14, I've explained before. Here's your rapture year, and what do you see? Just when Jesus had told them, where I go and prepare a place for you, that when I come back, I'll take you to where I am. Right here in the chapter for the rapture year. Well, what else do we know is in the rapture year? The 144,000 are in the same year, 2024. And what do we know that the 144,000 are going to do? Right? They're given power. Let's go to the second part of it. The 144,000 come back, and they returned excited to Jesus because they had been given power to cast out devils and to do all sorts of things. And then Jesus gives them power. They can't be killed right away. They're given power over scorpions and serpents and over the enemy, that nobody can hurt them. All right? And what do we see here in John 14 for the year 2024? Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also. And greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. So, how does it start off by saying? The works that I do shall you do also. Look, see, semicolon. Shall you do also. This is the first half of Luke 10 we were just showing. They're going to be casting out devils and demons and doing some other things. They're not going to have superpower yet, but they're going to have great power. This is the time when Jesus is still here. Jesus comes back at the beginning of trumpets, well, just before, but he's on Mount Zion at the beginning of trumpets, just like we see in Revelation 14. With who? The 144,000. Do you get it? John 14, 144,000 being given the ability that Jesus had and greater. Why? Because when Jesus goes back to his Father after 3.5 years, the midpoint of trumpets, when Satan is cast out, they're going to have the ability to do greater works than he did. Hence, the second half of what we just looked at in Luke 10. And John 14, last 21 years, right? Like we see from Jacob working 21 years for the two brides, 14 years, and then 7 more years for Judah. How about the book of Revelation? Why 22 years? What happens in the book of Revelation in the chapter 22? The bride coming and reigning forever and ever. Right? Millennial reign begins. What about these? Well, let's go to chapter 14. Oh, just so happens, it's also talking about the 144,000 on Mount Zion with the Lamb. Do you get it, guys? God knew there would be chapters put together for these books to help us get better understanding. And there are so many revelations throughout pointing in the exact same place or to the exact same time frames. I've done it from Luke and Zechariah and Hosea and Psalms and the other part of Psalms and 1st and 2nd John. It's all over the place, guys. And just like we saw again today with Psalms 22, exactly in the perfect place where the beheadings are. Psalms 24, they're rescued from what? The beheadings. John 14, 20, 24, it hits me, it just comes to me as I'm driving. I pull over, I type it in, and it tells me it's in John 14, exactly where it should be in relation to end time understanding. That is what this channel is all about, is the end time revelation understanding of what Daniel was saying when he said, I don't understand. And God said, the angel of the Lord said, seal up the books. They'll be for the end times. The understanding will be revealed. That is what we are getting here on this channel. And we just went through 3, 4, 5 things here to yet again show who the books are speaking to and when the books are speaking to. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for for emailing and placing comments to where you would like these USBs to be sent. Like I said, 1 to Australia, 1/4 of them to Canada, and 3/4 of them have gone to the US. This next batch going out on Tuesday is all to the US. The batch coming in hopefully Wednesday, maybe Thursday, is going to get spread out again throughout North America. But anywhere you guys are in the world, it makes no difference. We will ship it. All right, so that's why we need your donations, guys, to keep buying these USBs, burn them, print this stuff off, pay for the shipping and everything to get it to them. So, guys, thank you very much. I love you. I appreciate you. Keep sharing this understanding. And part 3 of the 3-part series will come either after, well, it'll come after this one, but maybe not tomorrow, maybe not, it won't be tomorrow. I'll send it out on Tuesday, July 3rd. And then that'll be it, and it'll be put into a section where you can see all 3 of them, and they don't have to be all searched as well. All right, guys, I love you. God bless you. I pray this helps you. This reveals more truth and understanding to these end days. And guys, keep watching and praying that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.